There are moments in the unseen world when something shifts so profoundly that even though you cannot name it, you feel in the quiet spaces of your chest, in a way your breath catches when you think of someone who has walked the corridors of your heart and left traces of themselves in places you didn't know existed. The angels have been watching over the connection you carry, this delicate thread woven between two souls, and they want you to know that today something changed. Not in a loud, dramatic way that makes headlines or demands attention, but in the soft, invisible way that true transformation always begins, like the first pale light before sunrise when the world is still sleeping, but something holy is already awake. You may have felt it as restlessness, as a sudden thought of this person appearing without invitation, as a dream that lingered longer than dreams usually do, or perhaps as nothing at all except a quiet knowing that pressed itself against your awareness like a hand on your shoulder in an empty room. What the angels reveal is this: the person you've been thinking about, the one whose energy have entangled with yours in ways that both comfort and confuse you, has made a choice today, and that choice is reverberating through the spiritual dimensions that connect you both, sending ripples through the invisible waters you share even when physical distance keeps you apart. This choice was not necessarily about you in the way your mind might hope, not a grand declaration or a sudden realization spoken out loud, but rather an internal shift, a turning point in their own journey where they have decided something about themselves, about their path, about what they're willing to face or no longer willing to avoid. The angels do not speak in guarantees or promises of outcomes, because the spiritual realm honors free will above all else, but they do speak in awareness, in gentle illumination of what is unfolding beneath the surface of ordinary life. This moment you are living in right now is not random. You are being prepared to receive something, to understand something, to step into a version of yourself that can hold more truth, more clarity, more of your own light without needing another person to validate its brightness. Take a breath and allow yourself to feel whatever is moving through you without judgment, without rushing to make it mean something specific, because the angels work in whispers and subtleties, in the language of feeling and intuition rather than the language of certainty and control. The choice that was made today exists in a realm that the logical mind struggles to comprehend, because we are taught to believe that choices are visible things, spoken words or clear actions, but the truth is that the most significant choices a soul makes often happen in complete silence, in moment of internal reckoning where someone finally admits something to themselves they have been avoiding, or releases a fear they have been carrying like a stone in their pocket, or decides that they can no longer continue living in the shallow waters when something deeper is calling them home. This person, the soul you are connected to, has been moving through their own labyrinth of emotion and confusion, their own questions about worthiness and readiness, and whether they are capable of showing up in a way that real intimacy demands. And today they cross a threshold within themselves that they cannot uncross. It might look like an ordinary moment to anyone watching from the outside, a quiet morning or a restless evening, but internally something crystallized, some truth they can no longer deny, some pattern they finally saw clearly enough to name. The angels want you to understand that this shift does not automatically mean reunion or resolution in the time frame your heart might be hoping for, because spiritual growth rarely moves in straight lines or predictable patterns. But it does mean that the energy between you is changing, that the dynamic which may have felt stuck or stagnant or painfully one-sided is beginning to move again, even if that movement is still happening beneath the surface where you cannot yet see it. There is something both beautiful and agonizing about loving someone who is still finding their way to themselves, because you can sense their potential, you can feel the truth of who they are beneath their defenses and distractions, and yet you cannot force their awakening. You cannot love them into wholeness if they are not ready to do that sacred work themselves. What has changed today is that a door has opened inside them, perhaps just a crack, perhaps tentatively and with uncertainty, but open nonetheless, and light is beginning to enter spaces that have been dark for longer than they would probably admit. The angels hold both of you with such tenderness, understanding the complexity of human hearts try and find each other across distances both geographical and emotional, and they whisper that patience is not weakness, but rather the deepest form of trust, trust in divine timing, trust in each soul's unique journey, trust that what is truly meant for you will find its way to you when all the pieces are aligned not just externally, but internally as well. If you've been feeling the weight of silence, the particular ache of being held in someone's heart, but not in their arms, of knowing a connection exists, but watching it remain unmanifested in the physical world you inhabit, The angels ask you to consider that perhaps this pause, this frustrating gap between what you feel and what is visible, has been serving a purpose that your longing has not allowed you to see clearly. There is a kind of spiritual violence in forcing things before their time and try to make a flower bloom by pulling at its petals. And both you and this person have needed this space to grow into versions of yourselves that can actually sustain the kind of love you are calling in. Because authentic soul connection is not something that can be built on need or lack or the desire to escape loneliness. It can only be built on two people who have done enough of their own internal work to stand in their truth without losing themselves in the presence of another. The distance you've been experiencing, whether it's physical miles or emotional unavailability or the maddening inconsistency of someone who seems to move toward you and then away like the tide, has been teaching you something essential about your own worth, about your capacity to hold your center even when another person's energy is chaotic or unclear, about the difference between loving someone and abandoning yourself in the name of that love. This is a lesson the angels have been trying to help you integrate, because they see how easy you give your power away, how quickly you make someone else's feelings more important than your own knowing, how you have learned to be small and accommodating and endlessly patient in ways that do not actually serve the highest good of either person involved. The choice that was made today creates an opportunity for something different to unfold. But that unfolding depends on whether you are willing to step into a new way of being, one where you stop waiting for someone else to choose you and instead choose yourself so completely that your energy shifts from pleading to magnetic, from desperate to dignified, from anxiously attached to serenely self-contained. The angels see the beauty of your heart, the purity of your desire for a real connection. And they also see how your own unhealed wounds around worthiness and belonging have kept you trapped in dynamics that hurt you more than hold you. And they are asking you now, with infinite gentleness, to consider what would change if you truly believed you were worthy of being met fully, of being chosen clearly, of being loved without confusion or crumbs or mixed signals that keep you constantly off. Balance. In the midst of wondering about this other person, about what their choice means and where it might lead, and whether you'll finally receive the clarity or commitment you have been hoping for, the angels want to redirect your attention to something more important, something that has been overlooked in your focus on external outcomes, and that is the luminous truth of who you are when you are not defined by whether someone else can see you, choose you, or love you in the way you deserve. You've been so focused on being enough for this person, on proving your value, on being patient and understanding and available, that you have forgotten to ask the most important question, which is whether this connection is actually nourishing you, whether it's adding to your life or slowly draining your vital energy, whether it's calling you higher or keeping you stuck in patterns of hope and disappointment that leave you feeling emptier each time. The angels do not judge you for caring, for staying, for believing in the potential of what you feel, but they do ask you to be honest about the cost, about what you've been sacrificing in terms of your peace, your joy, your sense of self while you wait for someone else to be ready, to heal, to step forward in a way that part of you keeps believing they will eventually do. This moment right now is an invitation to remember that your worth is not negotiable, not something that needs to be earned or proven or patiently waited for someone else to recognize, but rather an inherent quality of your existence, as constant and undeniable as the sun that rises each morning whether or not anyone is watching. The choice that was made today may shift the energy between you and this person, may open doors that have been closed, but the deeper question is whether you will use this moment to reclaim your power or whether you will continue to give away to someone who has not yet shown up in a way that honors what you bring. Perhaps what the angels are really trying to tell you is that you do not need to keep shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's uncertainty, that you do not need to keep accepting less than you desire in a hope that someday it will transform into more, that real love does not ask you to doubt yourself or walk on eggshells or endlessly accommodate someone's inability to be clear and consistent. You are being called to stand in your truth, to set boundaries that protect your heart without closing it, to love this person if that is what you choose, but to love yourself more, to stay open to possibility, but not at the expense of your dignity, to trust that if this connection is truly divinely aligned, then it will come together in a way that feels good to both people, not just one person hoping and the other hesitating. And so here you are, standing at the edge of something that has not yet fully revealed itself, holding awareness of a shift that has occurred, but not yet knowing what form it will take in your lived experience. And the angels ask you to breathe into this uncertainty, to resist the urge to force meaning or create stories that might comfort your mind but disconnect you from your intuition. What comes next is not entirely within your control, because it involves another soul's journey and choices and timing. But what is absolutely within your control is how you show up for yourself during this unfolding, whether you'll continue to contract around fear and scarcity, or whether you'll expand into trust and self-love, whether you will keep waiting for permission to live fully, or whether you will give yourself that permission right now. The bridge between two souls is built from both sides. And if you've been doing all the building, all the reaching, all the accommodating, then perhaps it's time to step back and see if this person will pick up the tools and start building toward you, to see if the choice they made today will translate into action, into effort, into the kind of movement that demonstrates not just feeling but commitment. The angels do not tell you what to do, because your free will is sacred and your path is your own, but they do illuminate the truth that has been present all along, which is that you deserve to be loved in a way that does not make you question your worth, in a way that does not keep you anxiously waiting, in a way that feels like peace and passion and partnership rather than constant uncertainty. If there is something here to walk toward, it will become clear not through more waiting, but through honest observation of whether this person's energy begins to match yours, whether their words align with their actions, whether the shift that happened today ripples outward into the visible world, or remains only an internal change that you feel but never see reflected back to you. Take a moment now, if you would like, to place one hand over your heart and whisper to yourself what you most need to hear, whether that is permission to stay, permission to leave, permission to hope, permission to protect yourself. Whatever message your soul has been trying to give you beneath all the noise of wanting and wondering. The angels are not finished speaking to you, because there are layers of this story that will continue to unfold, deeper truths waiting to be revealed. And perhaps what you need to know is that you do not have to have all the answers right now. You do not have to decide everything in this moment. You simply need to stay connected to your truth and trust that you will know what to do when the time comes to act. There is more guidance coming, more clarity on the horizon, more understanding of what this all means and where it is leading. But for now, rest in the knowing that you are exactly where you need to be, that nothing you have felt or hoped or feared has been wasted, and that the angels are walking beside you through every uncertain step, holding space for both your heart's desire and your soul's highest good, whispering that sometimes the greatest love story is the one where you finally, completely, courageously choose yourself. The angels have more to share with you, but some truths can only be received when the heart is ready to hear them. Until we meet again in the next message, may you rest in the quiet certainty that you are never alone, and that what is meant for you is already making its way home.